5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to get started. My name is Mike Harris. I am the founder and principal of Smart Money Network and your host today. And we have with us Tony Cotroop and Shira Foreman. Tony is both a client and probably one of the most gifted writers I have come across, certainly the most gifted that I know. He has a monthly newsletter that he posts on his website and on LinkedIn, and we're really happy to have him with us. He's going to share a little bit about himself. We also have Shira Foreman. Shira is the reseller partner for Visita, which is a client engagement system that I use and that my clients use to help them grow their network and engage with prospects and clients. So without any further ado, I want to give it to Tony for a few minutes and let him share a little bit about himself. Tony's a CFA. For those that don't know, that's a certified financial analyst. And his primary business is business valuation, but he has a kind of a unique slant on it, and I'll let him share that with you.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, just to give a brief overview of what I came from and how I got to, right up to this afternoon. I started out my career, I like to call myself a reformed investment banker from New York City. I worked in New York for 20 years and at great big places that you've heard of, like Ernst & Young and JP Morgan and things like that. And then moved to upstate New York about 15 years ago and really started working for myself. And one of the things about what I do is I like to describe myself as geographically agnostic. My background in investment banking and consulting and valuation was always international. I worked in the international services office at E&Y. I was an economist for a while, and then at JP Morgan, I was in the emerging markets investment bank working in Latin America primarily, but all over the world. So my background is really in business valuation, transaction advisory, private equity. I ran a private equity group at Morgan for a while, and venture capital. So those are the kinds of transactions that I get involved in that really span the globe. What is interesting and why I came to work with Mike is, formerly my branding was JP Morgan, let's say, and so when I walk into a room and I have a business card that says JP Morgan on it, people may not listen to a word I say, but they know that, he's from JP Morgan. So, he probably knows what he's talking about. Now I have to rebrand myself as myself. And, I think the same way, I talk the same way, I do the same things that I always did, but now it just doesn't say JP Morgan on my card. It says Meliora Advisors, which is the name of my firm. So what I do is a little bit different from what most people think of when they think of business valuation. I use valuation as a planning tool and not just an event because, it's a necessary evil that your accountant or your attorney told you had to do. So what I get involved in is transactions where, the principals don't really know how to analyze that themselves. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Why is it good? Why is it bad? What will make it better? And so I get involved in that, and I can do an analysis and say to a business owner or management team, the things that you do affect corporate value in this way. If it affects corporate value by making that value increase, it's a good idea. If not, really increasing, maybe it's a bad idea or not such a great idea. So that's a little bit different from what people usually think of when they think of valuation analysis or transaction advisory. Most transaction advisors, never saw a transaction they didn't like. A lot of times the best thing I can do is tell my clients that this is a bad idea. And so anytime something is different from what you expect or what you're used to, it's a little bit of a harder message to get across. People like things that are like other things. And, you know, if I'm selling you a car and it's, you know, well, this car is like that and it's just a little different. Oh, okay, I understand that. But whenever something is different and people have to change their mindset, that's a hard message to get across. And so one of the things I've done with Mike, and he's been wonderful at helping me do, is increase my reach to really a global audience. As he said, I do a lot of writing and I do create a lot of content. So one of the things I like is that I'm able to spread that content really worldwide and get people looking at it, get really, as they say, eyeballs on my content. And that comes back to me through questions and comments and whatever, and people, I get to know people, it increases my network exponentially. And so I've been able to work with people that are on the other side of the globe. The bad part about that is, you know, my with time zone changes, I'm sometimes up in the middle of the night or very early in the morning working, but that's okay. I don't mind that so much. But Mike has been great in helping me to reach that audience and get that audience engaged. And I'm not a technically savvy person. I'll be the first to admit it, but Mike has been great at getting me to first of all, understand, secondly, to use, and thirdly, to use efficiently technology to reach an audience, engage with an audience, and generate activity for me. I think that's about all I have to say.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for that, Tony. Anybody that would like to learn a little bit more about what Tony does and business valuation as a planning tool, feel free to reach out to him. A lot of the folks who are in the group today, I recognize some of the names, are actually from the Fort group. Some of them are recently minted Fort members. Really happy to have all you in here. And Tony is also a member of the Fort group. So y'all reach out to each other. I want to go ahead and crank up and get started with our presentation here. And let's see, I want to make sure that I do this right. All right. And we're going all the way up to from the beginning. How about that? All right, so I want to thank you again for showing up and allowing us to share and take a little bit of your time today. The primary premise that we're going to explore, and of course we've already introduced ourselves. I am native of Alabama. I'm a 40-year veteran of financial services and technology and marketing industries all together, all at the same time. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've probably been self-employed for all except about maybe 4 or 5 years of my career. So it's a lot of what I'm going to share with you comes from that experience. And one of the things that you'll probably notice about me right away is I'm a Southerner. And I have a really high, squeaky voice, and I'm a ugly fat guy. Not the Tony and Shira are both a lot more attractive and better looking than I am, and I have a voice and a face not for radio or TV, but I want to share with you why even folks who aren't all that good looking can still be very, very effective on digital media and doing workshops and on LinkedIn as well. So the 6 pillars of B2B success. We're focusing primarily on B2B marketing today, and and also on working a non-geographically constrained market. There are a lot of folks that have a local market. They work with local business owners. They work with local referral resources who send them consumer business. And today, though, we're going to look at the non-geographically constrained, and those folks are going to be folks in the financial services industry very often. They're going to be insurance agents. They're going to be lawyers, attorneys, CPAs, consultants, a lot of business coaches, executive and leadership coaches, and that sort of thing. They all have one thing in common, though, and they need to have a clear vision. They have to clarify their mission in order to be able to develop messaging, in order to develop their niche market and their target audience. It's really important for everyone who is going to be marketing to anybody to know for sure exactly who it is they're marketing to. We all have a niche audience. Mine is, I work primarily with folks in the financial services industry because that's where I came from and that's the market that I know. I understand that market. I know what makes those folks tick. And I know who all the target audiences are that I want to identify and work with. The next pillar is you need to develop your value proposition and your unique selling position. Your value proposition is what it is that you do that creates value for your target audience or creates value for your client. Your unique selling position is what it is that makes you different from everybody else. It's the reason somebody would choose you over your competition to do business with. The next thing that we want to look at is we want to learn how to deploy the principles of persuasion. We use the principles of persuasion throughout all of our marketing process to build credibility, authority, and what we call KLT, or know, like, and trust. People have a tendency to do business with other people that they know, like, and trust. Developing that trust with a stranger or with a group of strangers is kind of difficult, and it takes some special skill sets and it takes tools to do that at scale. And so that's the fifth pillar of B2B success, and that is to be able to communicate the right message to the right person at the right time to start conversations that generate new business. Okay, and to do that at scale, we have to automate. So we're going to share with you about the tools and the processes that we use to automate and build and nurture relationships at scale. Okay, I am positive that you're going to notice this is a post-production voiceover because you don't see my lips moving up there in the little video window, but I had a really nice little 3-minute video with music to it and the whole 9 yards here, but I forgot to turn on the sound during the webinar. So none of that's actually showing up. What I will do though is everybody who attended the webinar or in the future, I want to include a link to this entire video. It was only about 3 minutes. The full video is actually 11 minutes and some change, but this is a really impactful video that discusses the 6 principles of persuasion based on a book by Robert Cialdini. And so I'm going to go through and let them list those 6 principles of persuasion. That's reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, likability, and consensus. So we'll move forward from here. Okay, so I want to apologize for me interrupting our video there for a couple of times, and I want to ask Shira to do me a favor and operate the Q&A window and the chat window. And because every time I try to do it, it stops. It stops the presentation or starts it up or
No
does
problem.
other things. Okay, so the video described one of the 6 principles of persuasion, and that one was reciprocity. There are 5 others as well, and at the end of the presentation, or actually in the email that I'm going to send to everybody that that has attended, there will be a link to another video that describes all 6 of those. That video is about 12 minutes long, so I didn't want to do the whole thing here, but it gives you some very, very good examples of the 6 principles of persuasion in action. And I want to share some of the things that we can do actually in LinkedIn that also deploy the 6 principles of persuasion. And one is to optimize your profile summary so that it will efficiently communicate your value proposition and your unique selling position. Too many people look at their LinkedIn profile as an online resume. And, you know, for people who are looking for a job, that's not a bad thing to do. But for people who are running a business and they're looking to influence people to engage them for, you know, for business activity, then you really need to be able to tell a story that resonates emotionally with your target client, your target audience. It's got to be able to hit those pain points and touch on the emotional needs that each of those people have. You should have a persona. You should have an example of your best or ideal client that you're actually writing your profile to resonate with. And of course, at the end of your profile, you need a call to action that is easy and that also resonates with your target audience. In many cases, that's going to be, you know, schedule some time to visit with you, or it might be a link to watch a video, or it might actually be, you might instruct them to go and look at some of the testimonials that you've got on your website or something like that. Anything that is easy for the client, for the prospect to do, and will get you one of those initial affirmative actions that they can take to move them along the sales funnel. All of your experiences, education, projects, and your featured services should support what's in your profile summary and the about section. One of the key things is to understand about how we're going to deploy the 6 principles of persuasion is to recognize that you have one target market, but you may have several target audiences. I do. You know, my target market is primarily people in the financial services industry. More specifically, it's people in the family office space who serve ultra and high net worth clients and small businesses. But there are several target audiences within that target market. Some of them there are you know, business valuation professionals like Tony. Others are family office directors, and others are family office clients. Others are venture capital experts and investment bankers. All of those people are my target audience, but there's only one target market, and basically that's family office professionals. You need to be able to craft or create a private group. And this is really what our strategy is built around, is development of a private group as an asset that you control. By controlling that asset, you're positioning yourself as a person of authority, a person who has control over an asset that is valuable to the members. A big part of the value of that group, of that private group, is the ability of all of those people who make up your target audience to be able to engage with and network with one another. those folks all have a reason to want to rub shoulders with each other. And of course, by facilitating that, you create a valuable resource. But you also have to be able to make sure that it doesn't just become a free-for-all pitch fest, which unfortunately a large number of groups on LinkedIn are. And that's what devalues the group position and as our tool, as a positioning tool for you. That means that you have to control it. You have to craft your mission statement as well as the group rules in such a way that it promotes the value that you're creating, but also puts guardrails up so that you create and enforce rules that are going to keep people from turning that into a pitch fest and turning it into a self-promotion arena that is not really of any value to anybody. The next thing that you're going to do is craft message sequences that will resonate with each of your target audience. Those messages could be invitations to connect. They can be direct messages. A lot of people don't realize that they have the ability as a group administrator to directly message or communicate with each member of the group. And that's a powerful tool. Ordinarily, you cannot communicate directly with LinkedIn messaging to anybody that you're not a first degree connection with. But being a group administrator is an exception to that rule. You can directly message and communicate with first, second, and third degree connections who are members of your group. And you also have access to all of their contact information, or all of their contact information that's published anyway. Some people don't publish any of their contact information on LinkedIn for anybody to see, regardless of how closely you're connected. One of the things you want to do in each of those message sequences is you want to communicate your value, the value of engaging with other group members. You want to deliver content that is going to create value for everybody in the group. The group description and rules will help you set expectations, and it'll help establish you as the authority and a credible resource to the members. We're going to use automation. Now, a lot of people feel like automation is not a good idea. They equate that with spam and with making people mad and all that sort of thing. But if you use automation ethically and use it in a way that makes sense, if you create value for your target audience, if you very carefully identify your target audience and don't send messages to people who aren't going to appreciate what you're sharing, then your communications will be appreciated, and you'll have an opportunity. You'll create opportunities to do business in the long term. We use Sales Navigator, which is the data engine that is a premium service of LinkedIn. That's basically a data mining tool that allows you to very specifically target your audience using 23 different data points that include, the industry they're in, their name, the company name that they belong to, the number of employees, the head count in that company, just a whole lot of other information, demographic information, and membership information that helps you identify your target audience. It also has their title and their functional role inside the organization. We use video tools there's several of them, video editing tools and transcription tools that will put the subtitles that you see down at the bottom of a lot of videos. That's really important because a lot of people live in cubicles and they don't necessarily want to have a video or the audio portion of a video blasting out to their workmates. So LinkedIn intentionally turns the audio off on all videos when they first start up. And the only way that your target audience will know that what the subject matter is if there are subtitles or at the bottom of the video that tell people what it's about. So those video tools are really important. Video is, most people know, is a very, very effective tool for creating engagement, for presenting and creating a face and a voice that you can share with your target audience. And that helps you build the know, like, and trust that's required to drive business. You're able to transfer your personality and share who you are a whole lot easier through video than you can through text and images and things like that. So it's really important to use video when you can and make that a part of your content strategy. We use LinkedIn automation to deliver invitations and to distribute our content throughout the network. And we use another tool called Seamless AI to collect and enrich the data that we mine in Sales Navigator. That's important because it gives you data on those first, second, and third degree connections that you can't get through LinkedIn. So Seamless AI actually integrates with LinkedIn and sits on top of it as a Chrome extension, and finds that data for you, the basic data of company information and contact information and a LinkedIn URL, takes that information and it goes out and scrapes the rest of the web to find additional data, additional email addresses, physical addresses, phone numbers. Very often it's going to include a well-defined head count, better defined head count than what you get in LinkedIn. It'll have the actual number of employees. Very often it'll have the annual income of the company, a lot of other information that's valuable in helping you to engage with and know who your target audience is. We used another product that is called Webula, and I actually white label that product and resell it on my website. But the technology behind it was developed by another firm called Webula. And data and hygiene is their specialty. A lot of the data that you get from LinkedIn and a lot of the data that you find from enrichment sources are not going to be valid. They're going to be spam traps. They're going to be honeypots. They're going to be malicious emails that people are trying to infiltrate the other email servers with. And Webula identifies all of those and it labels them as valid, dangerous, or unknown, so that you can make a judgment call about how you want to use the data. I generally will use only the data that Webula identifies as valid, and with that I get about a 99% open rate, 2 or 3% bounce rate, and about for anybody that knows these statistics, our target audience today may not, but about an 8% click-through rate, and those are pretty good. And so the data that we derive from Webula helps us to drive a warm email campaign that can drive up to 500 people a day to your LinkedIn private group. So it's a very valuable tool for helping us engage our target audience at scale and drive more potential prospects and clients than you could ever possibly do manually through LinkedIn. And then, of course, the last thing that we do is we use Visita as one of the tools that we use for automated appointment setting and reminders, event scheduling, marketing automation, client communications. announcements, estimates, invoicing, billing, and payment processing. So that's kind of the final stage of how we manage. By the time we get data into that system, we still have some automation opportunities there, but we're really focused on having one-on-one conversations and really drilling down and having building that personal relationship with our target audience. And that's what Visita is really good for. It's called a client engagement system. And I hope I haven't stolen any of Shira's thunder, and she should be coming up next.
Thanks, Mike. No worries at all. It was a great introduction. So let me just share my screen with you guys.
Let me stop.
Okay, perfect. All right. So you actually need to allow me to share my screen, Michael, if that's okay. It says that you disabled the participant screen sharing. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know. You guys see my screen?
Yes, looking good.
Perfect. Awesome. So basically what I wanted to talk a little bit about today, Michael kind of touched on it. He really talked about a lot of the acquisition. So how are you guys going to get new clients? How are small businesses going to get new clients? And what I'm going to touch on now, which is a really important part of the process of building your business and how to build your revenue, is what to do with those clients once you have them, what to do with those leads once you have them, and how to convert them into sales. And that's what Visita is all about. So, I work with small businesses all the time. Michael's one of the people, I work with. He's one of our partners. But when we talk to small businesses, we try to understand really what are their main challenges and what they're struggling with. And a lot of the things, that come up is like time. You don't have time to do everything yourself. You're a one-man, two-man business, and it's very, very big struggle to manage everything yourselves. It's, you have no-shows, it's high cost, overdue payments, calling people all the time, working all the time, getting calls in the late hours. People don't know, where to draw the line sometimes. And so what Visita really has done is it really helps you with, streamline your business and automate a lot of the tasks that you can instead of doing everything yourself. So what Mike kind of touched upon is, some of the things that he does to help you attract your customers. So he helps you build the value proposition, engage via LinkedIn, email campaigns, process development, everything that you need to really grow the business and get new clients, get new leads coming in from LinkedIn. And what Visita really does is it helps you convert those clients, convert those leads into clients, retention, high retention, keep those clients long-term and grow. And it does that through a few different areas. So being able to stay in touch and generate repeat business, being able to manage client notes in one place. So if you're having, multiple client meetings, you need to be able to stay on track. What did we talk about in the last meeting? What are we going to talk about in the next meeting? So, when you grow and you have lots of clients, it's impossible, to remember all of that offhand. So keeping track of everything inside of a CRM. Getting paid faster with invoicing. So people being able to either book your services and pay directly through there or, make payments directly online. Especially with Corona, this is a very big thing, being able to have all this information online. So being able to keep everything in one place. So I think the main things that, I want to touch upon is the calendar management, the client portal, billing and invoicing, email marketing and staff document and management and documentation. Sorry. Now, managing your schedule. So what Michael talked about, he talked a little bit about, sending out LinkedIn campaigns and things like that. And I'll show you guys how this works. But basically, I actually want to pull it up now. I want to show you something. So when I go onto Michael's website, Michael, I hope this is okay. I'm sharing your website here for a second. Just as an example, as a good example of a process flow, right? So the goal is to get more traffic to your website. The goal is, pull people in from LinkedIn and either start a conversation or get them on your website. And through LinkedIn, you can do this as well with a link, but basically the goal is to get them to schedule a call with you, right? It's to get an introduction so that you can give your pitch, so you can get them on board. And that takes them through a process, right? So if I click on here, schedule a meeting, it takes me to That's a call to action, right? The call to action isn't message me or send me a text, because the last thing I want to do is go back on a series of emails and texts. I want to talk to them one-on-one, and I want to understand what their needs are and then give them the solution that you offer them. And through this series, I can already book a service. I can fill in my general information at the time that's right for me. With Michael, I can fill in the top information that I need to know. So as a business owner, you can change all this information. Go ahead, confirm the booking. That will populate in my calendar. That will populate in the business owner's calendar. And the most important thing here is you already have a scheduled call where you can have your pitch. It's not an email. It's not a text. It's not wasted time. That way I'm coming ready to this meeting. I know it's a consultation. I'm coming ready to this meeting as a client, knowing that I'm about to hear, from Michael what he has to offer me. Michael on his side has all this information pulled inside of his CRM, and he can come ready to the meeting knowing, okay, he can ask, like here he has, just a few basic information. You can also ask, what is your biggest need? What are you looking for? And that way he can also come ready to the meeting knowing exactly what they're looking for and ready to move forward to the next stage. And this can also be a link on LinkedIn. So I know that, Michael, you've used it as a link, like that you send in your LinkedIn campaigns. And so it's a call to action. It's, you give your pitch, and then the call to action is schedule a meeting here. And it's a link through LinkedIn. And then they a lot of people really just want to click that button. A lot of the time I find, Michael, I don't know if you can share, but it's usually something you send through LinkedIn, you click it, they schedule a meeting with you, all that information is pulled inside the CRM, and I can keep track of that there and reach back out to them for more. That of course syncs with your calendar, your personal calendar, so that you can manage all like new leads and current clients through one calendar area, through one calendar space, and be able to track everything. That's whether you're having events or just bookings. Now, before that appointment I have with Michael that let's say I just booked, I would get 2 notifications, text and email notifications reminding me about that meeting, so that I'm going to show up for that meeting. Because the last thing you want is those no-shows. You know what I mean? You're selling your time, you're selling yourself. When people don't show up for meetings, it really just is a waste of time. So those text and email reminders, making sure that people come on time. So a little bit of client management. So we do have the email integration, sync, SMS communication, client cards with notes, everything in one place. And I actually want to show you for a minute what that looks like. Can you guys see my screen? The screen I'm sharing of the, yeah, okay. So now when I have, this can either be jobs or clients, when I have a new client that comes in through the system, they just did that process that I showed you through Michael's website, or they do that through LinkedIn, they become a client inside your CRM. And right now, I don't know if you guys are using Excel or how you're keeping track of everything, but these clients, recurring clients, can add up to a lot of money. And if you're not keeping track of them, you're not keeping track of payments and things like that, it can obviously really affect your revenue. I go directly into the CRM, into the client card. I see a full history of the conversations that we've had in the past or upcoming appointments, any notes that I have on that client, if we're having several meetings, depending on the different types of services you're offering, any upcoming bookings, and any payments that they've done as well through the tool. So here I'm able to keep track of my whole business. I'm able to dig down into clients, see what's going on inside of each client's history. All the information he filled in on that form is coming up here. And then I can keep track of everything in here. Now I can also really easily send him a message and keep track of our message history. And what's really nice is there's also a client portal, so the client can keep track of the history as well. So when clients come back to you and they say, well, I didn't get that message, well, I didn't get that invoice, well, they can log into a client portal and they have all that information stored there as well. And it's really, easy with a click of a button. So just going back to the presentation, being able to capture leads, it can capture client statuses to do the lead to sale process, document sharing, notifications, and so on. Now, billing and invoicing, some clients are using it for this as well. When they're booking a meeting, they can pay for that meeting up front or for different services. We can store credit card information on the system, so you can just charge the card after a meeting. So that takes care of payment. They'll get a receipt. And we do integrate with, QuickBooks, Stripe, Square, PayPal. So it's pretty easy. Excuse me. Email and SMS marketing, huge part of retention. So whereas Michael talked a lot about how to get new clients, a big part of a lot of businesses, now I don't know exactly what types of businesses you guys are working in right now, but a huge part of retention is email marketing. How are you staying in touch with your clients? How are they being reminded about your services? You know, a lot of people have a lot of things going on. They have family, they have work, and your services are not top of mind, you know, in a lot of cases. So you have to constantly be reminding them, monthly newsletters, trigger-based campaigns to remind. You can tag different clients, you can tag them as specific clients, and then send out campaigns directly to those specific clients through the system. Create coupons, let's say, packages, things like that. And that's a huge part of keeping clients happy and keeping them coming back for more as well. So that can be done through the system. Now, because it's your CRM, you already have a list of clients in there. You don't have to import a list each time. It's really just a seamless process as well. So I just wanted to go in now. I showed you a little bit about the system. I want to dig in a little bit deeper. Something that we went into was the marketing. So I know, I know how it is for small businesses. I work mainly with small businesses. I know how hard it is to create your own campaigns, come up with your own messaging and things like that. So Visita does come in with a series of templates. So you can have, you can create a new announcement really easily and add an image to it as well. What's really nice here is that when you send these out, you're also going to get data, right? The world is going completely data oriented, and you can see how many were sent, how many emails were sent, how many were received, how many were opened. Now, let's say that somebody opened they looked at your email and they didn't click, or they clicked, but then they didn't actually end up signing up for your service. You can go back to those listed clicked, people who clicked on your service, and go back to them and say, hey, I noticed you were interested, let's follow up, let's have a chat. And that will usually sometimes push it a step further. And if you didn't have that service, you wouldn't necessarily get that sale, let's say. So I think that's a big part of marketing as well. And then of course, you have the calendar aspect, the dashboard aspect where you can manage everything, right? So this is where you go in every day. You're able to see an upcoming view of how many bookings you have that week, how much money is coming in through the system, and you're really able to manage your bottom line. So actually I wanted to stop for a second and ask Michael, because you've been using this for a long time, your clients have been using this. What would you say is like the top value point for you in your process?
The greatest value for me is to be able to automate my scheduling process and my client communications. I don't really, myself, I don't use the billing processes because I already use something else that, very frankly, I've just gotten used to and don't want to change. But, the neat thing about this, though, is if I did decide that I wanted to, consolidate and do everything inside Visita, I could probably run the entire business out of Visita. It also has API connection to QuickBooks, and I think there's another accounting package in there too. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But it does a really good job at what it does. A big part of the communications that I did for this campaign was done through Visita. So it can send out 10,000 messages in a matter of minutes. If you want to do an announcement or something like that, the delivery and click-through rate and all that sort of thing really depend an awful lot on the quality of your data. But if you do good data hygiene, if you keep your lists up to date, you're going to get pretty decent delivery and you're going to get a decent click-through rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're using it for your LinkedIn process as well, am I right? When you're reaching out to new leads, this is how they're scheduling a meeting. So it's not like it's a back and forth on LinkedIn and then they get less interested. The second the lead, like the interest goes out, the message goes out, they're clicking and scheduling a meeting because they're interested in that moment, right? So.
Right. And they get several reminders too. They get reminders via email and via SMS. And that's big because and you can't do that with a a physical calendar. You know, you can't really set up reminders. And that's really important because you get an awful lot of no-shows if you don't have an automated scheduling system. And Visita is one of the few that gives you, I think it does a reminder the day before, and then an hour before, and does it with both email and SMS.
Yeah, you can change it. You can completely change like when you want. It's very customizable. I just think your process is very interesting because it's integrated in how you run your whole lead generation and conversion into sale process.
Right.
And that's how it works so well for you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
In that instance. Now there's a lot of, yeah, sorry.
Some of my clients have actually asked me to provide seamless integration between LinkedIn and Visita through Zapier. And so that whenever a new connection comes in or a new group member comes in, that person's data can automatically go into Visita through Zapier, through that automation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we can integrate with a lot of other things through Zapier as well. But I think like the biggest focus, especially for this webinar, is really like how to build your business, how to drive more revenue and get more leads. And then the biggest part is converting those leads into sales, right? So how do they become clients and then returning clients as well? So right. I know I just went over a very brief introduction, but I know you want to save some time for questions as well, Michael. So unless there's something else you want me to cover.
Yeah, we do. I think we do have a couple of questions. So let me take a look. Let's see. Yeah, Vishal asks, how is Visita different than MailChimp?
So I can answer that. So, I mean, MailChimp is great. MailChimp is an email marketing system, but it's only an email marketing system. So it's not a scheduling tool. It doesn't give notifications. It's not a CRM. So you have to manually import a list into MailChimp. And I think that's the biggest value that Visita provides is it's an all-in-one. So from the second somebody schedules a meeting with you, their information is pulled inside the CRM. All that information inside the CRM can be used to send out email campaigns, to communicate with them, keep in touch with them, and keep track of all that information. So I do think MailChimp is a great tool for just email marketing, but Visita kind of has that encompassed, in the system. So it's really more of an all-in-one.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any other questions for Shira? Okay, well, if not, I want to move on and we'll go to the next segment of our presentation, and we're close to wrapping it up. Let me make sure that I get this done right again. There we are. Okay. First attempt at getting it to move on was unsuccessful, so let me see what I got to do. Here we go. All right. Okay. So as with most any other webinar workshop like this, we've shared a lot of really good information, and I also want to share an offer. And obviously, I do this for a living, and free workshops are great, but we got to make a living. So I want to share with you two things. Number one, the exact tools that I use to run this agency. I've been running the agency since 2014, and I have generated as much as $15,000, $20,000 a month, sometimes in revenue. Most of the time, it's not quite that much. It's usually under 10, but it's a pretty decent business. And the tools that I use are Seamless AI, which is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a data collection and enrichment tool. That product is about $250. I am, by the way, I am a reseller for all of these products, and So if you're looking at unlimited LinkedIn data collection and enrichment, you can do that for about $250 a month. I have white labeled, like I said earlier, Webula's data hygiene engine, and I do about 5,000 records a month for $250. And there are several video editing tools that I use on a regular basis to handle video editing for my concierge clients that I create content for. And I've done some of that for Tony. And those tools are relatively inexpensive. I mean, one of them is a product called HD Movie Maker. It's actually an app that's sold on the Microsoft App Store, and it's only 15 bucks, and you can buy it one time and you never have to pay for it again. Google Workspace or MS Office 365, either one of those is a good tool, and I highly recommend one of them if you're going to get into a full-scale marketing automation system. And that's going to be about 12 bucks a month for either of those. YouTube Video Downloader is a free product that allows you to download YouTube videos and cut and slice them up any way you want to, and then you can edit those with the simple video editor that I shared with you already. And then the video transcription software that puts the subtitles automatically down at the bottom. It does voice recognition and automatically creates those. You still have to go back in and do some editing, but it takes a huge amount of the work off of you and does most of it for you. And that product is about $25 a month. The LinkedIn engagement automation is, there are actually two pieces of that, but that software is $2.99 a month. The one-on-one group coaching, if I were going to do it for any other products or any other situation, it would be $4.99 a month. But really and truly, since I can't possibly understand and coach people on how to use every piece of software out there, the only way that I'll offer it is through this particular package. All of that together would come to about $13.29 a month. I'm offering it for $9.99 a month with a 6-month commitment. And for those that make that 6-month commitment, if they will prepay, they'll get a 15% discount on that. So, basically, that is the first offer. I still have, and I only have 18 seats remaining on that. I have 2 clients. I'm actually just creating this coaching program. So I only have 2 clients in it right now. The maximum I'm going to want to take on is 20. So there are 18 of those positions remaining. I'm going to close this out probably in August the 1st. And so I'll be doing a lot of marketing between now and August 1st to reach out to my entire network. But $9.99 a month, you get everything you need to run your own concierge campaign. I have 2 spaces available right now for concierge members, and that's $39.99 a month, and also with a minimum 6-month commitment. I'm backing off of the concierge business because, very frankly, I'm 64 years old and I'm getting close to wanting to retire, and I would rather be coaching than working. So the $39.99 a month, the concierge service is also available at a 15% discount with prepayment. Also requires a 6-month commitment to pay, and PayPal credit is available to qualified buyers, and that gives you 6 months to pay with no interest. So it's a pretty good deal, and allows you to schedule payments over a period of time without a huge upfront commitment. But you can't buy this today. And the reason for that is pretty simple. This is for a lot of folks that I work with, it's a fairly substantial commitment in time and money. And I want the members that join to be certain that it's a good fit. Between now and the end of the month, actually probably between now and the end of this week, the people who are attending this webinar, as well as those who have registered for the trial and for the replays, they will get links to the replays. They'll get a link to a 14-day trial of Visita, along with a free setup and strategy session with me. Links to all the software that I use in my agency, where you can buy those individually or as a package, whatever you like to do. Free membership and a monthly newsletter subscription that will share best practices, tips, and tricks for building and engaging your network. And I also like to give away a resource that I came across about 10 years ago. And it's for those of you who might not know what GOAT stands for, it's greatest of all time. And Zig Ziglar created a little tiny book. It's only about 23 pages, but it's called The Little Book of Big Quotes. And he made this available before he died in PDF format. And it's available for you to co-brand. You can make it your own as long as you give credit to Zig for the work that he did. But the little book of big quotes is a collection of timeless wisdom from a guy that who basically kind of created the industry as it exists today. There's probably not a marketing and sales book out there that's not based on his work and what he shared. So it's a great tool. And then I want to give you a lot more stuff to do. And but to get those things, you need to be sure to whitelist my email address, and that's michael.harris@smartmoneynetwork.net, so that my email doesn't go to spam and you will actually get all these great things. And that is the end of the presentation. And